July 12, 2025, 9 a.m. Simultaneously, 17 different documents were published in 17 different countries. Each document was part of Ibrahim Traoré's secret strategy prepared against Western powers. The Pentagon in Washington was in panic. Emergency meetings at the Élysée Palace in Paris. MI6 on high alert in London, because these documents exposed all of the West's secret operations in Africa. Even worse, they showed how Ibrahim planned to neutralize each one. How does this man know? Asked CIA Director Richard Coleman. The answer was hidden in the 17th document. Today, I'm going to tell you about Ibrahim Traoré's 17-point master plan that he secretly prepared over 3 years, and how this plan shocked Western powers. 2022, 6 months before Ibrahim Traoré's presidential election. In Ibrahim Traoré's private study, 17 large maps covered the walls. Each map showed different Western powers' operations in Africa. This wasn't just a hobby. Ibrahim was systematically analyzing Western strategies in Africa. Daniel, Ibrahim said to his trusted friend Daniel Sankara, there are 17 main tactics in Western Africa policy. We need to develop a counter-strategy for each one. Daniel was amazed as he examined the maps. Ibrahim, this is very detailed. Where did you gather this information? I've been researching for 3 years, Ibrahim said. France's Mali intervention, the U.S. Sahel operation, Britain's Sudan plan. There's a pattern behind each one. Ibrahim pulled out a thick file from his desk. Here's the Operation African Freedom Plan. 17 points, 17 counter-strategies. First draft of the 17 points. 1. French CFA System African Monetary Independence Plan 2. U.S. Military Bases Security Independence Strategy 3. British Mining Resource Control Project 4. German Technology Dependence Technology Transfer Plan 5. Italian Energy Control Energy Independence 6. Chinese Debt Trap Balanced Partnership Model 7. Russian Arms Dependence Defense Industry Plan 8. IMF/World Bank Alternative Financing System 9. International Media African Narrative Control 10. Education System African Curriculum Reform 11. Health Dependence Medical Independence Plan 12. Technology Transfer Digital Independence 13. Trade Agreements Intra-African Trade 14. Cultural Hegemony African Identity Project 15. Diplomatic Isolation South-South Cooperation 16. Climate Policies African Climate Strategy 17. Economic Integration United African Economy. Daniel's eyes widened as he read the list. This is a complete revolution plan. Not revolution, Ibrahim said. Independence. Real independence. Ibrahim formed a secret team of 17 people to implement his plan. Each person was an expert in one point. Dr. Amina Khanate, economics expert, monetary system. Colonel Samuel Ouedraogo, security expert, military independence. Professor Fatou Sawadogo, education expert, curriculum reform. Engineer Ousmane Zongo, technology expert, digital independence. Dr. Mariam Kabor, health expert, medical independence. Each expert conducted detailed research in their field for 2 years. Goal: to fully understand and neutralize every Western tactic. This project could take 10 years, said Dr. Khanate. Then we'll work for 10 years, Ibrahim said. But in the end, Africa will truly be free. In 2023, France's decision to withdraw from Mali provided an opportunity to test Ibrahim's first point. Ibrahim secretly coordinated with the Mali government. Mali's exit plan from the CFA franc is ready, said Dr. Khanate. If successful, other countries will also find courage. The plan worked. Mali started using its own currency after leaving the CFA system. This was the first proof that Ibrahim's strategy worked. Daniel asked in amazement, how did France accept this so easily? Ibrahim smiled, because the second point also came into play. We allowed the U.S. to establish a base in Mali. We created competition between France and the U.S. This was Ibrahim's basic strategy, using Western powers against each other. Throughout 2023, Ibrahim's team intensified their intelligence operations. Using both human intelligence and cyber capabilities, they gathered detailed information about Western operations across Africa. We need to understand not just what they're doing, but why they're doing it, Ibrahim explained to his team. Every Western intervention has multiple layers: economic, strategic, and psychological. The team discovered patterns that confirmed Ibrahim's initial analysis. Economic interventions always preceded political pressure. Military presence was used to protect economic interests. Cultural programs were designed to maintain psychological dependence. International aid was structured to create perpetual debt. It's not just exploitation, Dr. Khanate observed. It's a comprehensive system designed to maintain permanent dependence. Exactly, Ibrahim replied, and that's why our response must be equally comprehensive. After Ibrahim Traoré was elected president, he moved to the implementation phase of his plan. But first, he needed to build a larger network. Daniel, we're no longer working just for Burkina Faso, but for all of Africa, Ibrahim said. Ibrahim secretly communicated with leaders of 17 African countries. He discussed a different point with each leader. Nigerian President Dr. Adebayo Okonkwo. 5. Energy independence. Kenyan President William Ruto. 12. Technology transfer. Ghanaian President Nana Akufo-Addo. 3. Mining control. Senegalese President Bassirou Faye. 1. Monetary independence. Each leader focused on their country's priority issue, but all were directed toward the same goal, breaking free from Western dependence. In the summer of 2024, Eurobank's Africa Director Marcus Sterling began noticing strange trends. African countries are acting in coordination, Sterling said at the board meeting. Money outflows in the CFA area are increasing. Mining agreements are being renegotiated. This can't be coincidence. Eurobank began intelligence operations in Africa in coordination with the CIA. Their goal, to reach the name behind this coordination. Intelligence reports pointed to one name, Ibrahim Traoré. At the Pentagon, Colonel Jennifer Hayes, head of the Africa desk, was worried. Radical changes are happening in Burkina Faso, Hayes told the defense secretary. Traoré is changing the entire power balance in the region. The Pentagon began closely monitoring Burkina Faso. Satellite imagery, phone tapping, internet traffic analysis. Everything was to track Ibrahim's activities. But Ibrahim had foreseen this too. His 15th point included a diplomatic isolation counter-strategy. Ibrahim's cyber warfare expert Ousmane Zongo began monitoring the Pentagon system. Mr. President, they're watching us, but we're also watching them, Ousmane said. We've gained access to the Pentagon's Africa strategy documents. These documents confirmed Ibrahim's predictions. The Pentagon's 2025 to 2031 Africa plan was exactly as Ibrahim had foreseen. Establishing permanent bases in Mali, regime change in Burkina Faso, increasing economic dependence in the Sahel, limiting Chinese influence. Everything is going as we planned, Ibrahim said. Now it's time to activate the 17th point. Ibrahim's biggest plan was Africa's economic unification. Single currency, common customs union, unified investment fund. If this happens, said Dr. Khanate, Africa becomes the world's third largest economy, after China and the US. The plan was 2025, African Economic Union establishment 2026, common currency launch, African gold, 2027, unified investment fund opening 2028, full activation of customs union. This plan was a nightmare for the West, because if Africa unified economically, it would no longer be dependent on the West. Throughout 2024, Ibrahim's team worked tirelessly to prepare for the grand revelation. Each of the 17 points was refined, tested in smaller scales, and prepared for continent-wide implementation. We're not just planning a policy change, Ibrahim explained to his expanded team. We're architecting a complete transformation of Africa's relationship with the world. The preparation involved several key elements. Establishing secure communication networks across participating countries, training local teams in each country to implement specific points, creating redundant systems to prevent Western interference, developing economic models to demonstrate feasibility, building popular support through grassroots education programs. Remember, Ibrahim emphasized, this only works if our people understand and support the vision. This isn't a top-down revolution, it's a continental awakening. Ibrahim Traoré decided to make his big move. He would simultaneously reveal to the entire world the 17 documents he had prepared over 3 years. Ousmane, are the systems ready? Ibrahim asked. Yes, Mr. President, Ousmane said. 17 different media outlets in 17 countries will broadcast simultaneously. Documents have been translated into 23 languages. At 9 a.m., the historic broadcast began. Burkina Faso, National TV Document 1, CFA System, Nigeria, NTA Document 5, Energy Independence. Kenya, KBC Document 12, Technology Transfer, Ghana, GTV Document 3, Mining Control, Senegal, RTS Document 1, Monetary Independence, Mali, ORTM Document 2, Security Independence, Chad, Telechad Document 7, Defense Industry, Niger, Tele-Sahel Document 15, South-South Cooperation. Each document detailed a different Western tactic and its counter-strategy. Alarm bells were ringing at the Pentagon. CIA Director Richard Coleman called an emergency meeting. "These documents contain our 20-year Africa strategy," Coleman said. "How did they obtain them?" The NSA director replied, "Worse, they've prepared counterplans for each of our strategies." 20 years of work went to waste. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin joined the meeting. "Who is this Traoré? Where does he come from?" "President of Burkina Faso," Coleman said, "but much more dangerous than he appears." At the Élysée Palace, President Emmanuel Macron was having an emergency meeting with the DGSE director. "Our CFA system is under threat," the DGSE director said. "Traoré has convinced 14 African countries to leave the CFA." Macron slammed the table. "This is unacceptable. How can one man destroy our 60-year system overnight?" "Because he has a 17-point plan," the director said, "and he knew all our moves in advance." At MI6 headquarters, Director Richard Moore organized an emergency meeting. "Our Sudan operation has been exposed," Moore said. "Traoré knows our 2026 plans." "How is this possible?" asked the Foreign Intelligence Chief. "It's written in the 17th document," Moore said. "The man has been watching us since 2022. At Eurobank headquarters, the board held an extraordinary meeting. 70% of our Africa portfolio is at risk," said CEO Marcus Sterling. "If Traoré's plan succeeds, we'll have to withdraw from African markets." "What does this mean in money terms?" the CFO asked. $200 billion, Sterling said. "The biggest shock came in the 17th document." This document detailed Ibrahim's United African Economy Plan, economic unification of 54 African countries' common currency, African gold, AU gold, establishment of United African Central Bank, expansion of African Continental Free Trade Agreement, complete end to Western dependence. The plan aimed to make Africa one of the world's largest economic blocs by 2030. Panic began on Wall Street. Stocks of all companies investing in Africa fell. Within hours of the document release, international media began extensive coverage. CNN, African Revolution, Traoré's 17-point plan shakes global order, BBC. The documents that could end Western influence in Africa, France 24, France's Africa strategy exposed in leaked documents. Deutsche Welle, new African independence movement threatens European interests, but African media celebrated the revelation. TRT Africa, the day Africa took control of its destiny. CGTN Africa, 17 documents that will change continental history. Al Jazeera. Ibrahim Traoré's master plan for African liberation. The revelation of the 17 documents created immediate reactions across multiple continents. European Union, emergency session called to address African situation, United States. National Security Council meeting on African strategic challenges. China. Official support for African self-determination. Russia. Endorsement of multipolar world order. India. Statement supporting South-South cooperation. "This is exactly what we anticipated," Ibrahim told his team. "The reactions confirm that our analysis was correct." 24 hours after the publication of the 17 documents, Western powers launched a coordinated counterattack. IMF imposed new loan conditions on Burkina Faso. World Bank suspended African projects. Eurobank applied economic pressure on CFA countries. Pentagon increased military operations in the Sahel, but Ibrahim had foreseen these too. He had ready plans for every counterattack. Against IMF conditions, Ibrahim established the African Investment Bank against World Bank sanctions, signed alternative financing agreements with China and Russia against Eurobank pressure, launched intra-African payment system against Pentagon operations, made security agreement with Russia. Western media launched a coordinated campaign to discredit Ibrahim Traoré. CNN, Traoré destabilizing Africa. BBC. Concerns about authoritarianism in Burkina Faso. France 24. Traoré's radical policies threaten the region. Deutsche Welle. Is a new dictator emerging in Africa? But Ibrahim's 9th point came into effect. African narrative control. The African Media Network launched coordinated counter-broadcasting. TRT Africa, in partnership with Turkey. CGTN Africa, supported by China. RT Africa, Russian channel. Al Jazeera Africa, Qatar support. The West began applying economic embargo to Africa. high customs duties on African products stopping new investments in African countries, visa bans for African leaders, removing African companies from international systems. Ibrahim's response was the 13th point. Intra-African trade. African countries began intensive trade among themselves. Nigerian oil to Burkina Faso, Ghanaian cocoa to Senegal, Kenyan tea to Mali, South African minerals to Chad within 6 months. Intra-African trade increased by 300%. The West stopped technology transfer to Africa. Telecommunications equipment banned software licenses, canceled technical education programs, stopped internet infrastructure investments, cut. Ibrahim's 12th point came into effect. Digital independence. Africa found alternative technology partners. 5G agreement with China, satellite internet project with Russia, software development with India, drone technology with Turkey. The West tried to diplomatically isolate African countries, blocking African proposals at the UN, removing Africa from G20, stopping cooperation with NATO, canceling EU partnership agreements. Ibrahim's 15th point came into effect. South-South cooperation. Africa established new alliances. Full membership in BRICS, partnership with Shanghai Cooperation Organization, cooperation with South American countries, establishment of Asia-Africa Economic Forum. The CIA launched a secret operation to overthrow Ibrahim. Code name Operation Harmattan. The plan was supporting opposition in Burkina Faso, preparing ground for military coup, taking Ibrahim to international court, installing a pro-Western leader. But Ibrahim's 14th point worked. Counterintelligence. Ibrahim's team detected the CIA operation in advance. All agents involved in the operation were captured. The revelation of the 17 documents triggered an unprecedented cyber warfare campaign. Western intelligence agencies launched coordinated attacks on African infrastructure. Power grid disruptions in key cities, banking system interference, communication network, jamming, government database infiltration attempts. But Ibrahim's team was prepared. Ousmane Sonko's cyber defense unit had anticipated these attacks. Mr. President, we're not just defending, Ousmane reported. We're counterattacking. Every system they compromise, we learn from and use to map their capabilities. The cyber warfare became a learning experience that actually advanced African technological capabilities faster than traditional development would have allowed. Western powers also attempted to use international legal mechanisms. International Court of Justice. Complaints about violation of international agreements. International Criminal Court. Attempts to investigate economic crimes. World Trade Organization. Challenges to discriminatory trade practices. International Monetary Fund. Demands for structural adjustment programs. But Ibrahim's legal team, trained in international law, was ready with counter-arguments based on sovereignty rights and self-determination principles. 1 year after the publication of the 17 documents, Ibrahim's biggest dream came true. The United African Economy was officially established. Founding members, 34 African countries. Headquarters, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Currency, African gold, AU gold. Trade volume, $500 billion. First year, at the opening ceremony, Ibrahim said, "Today, Africa is economically united for the first time in 400 years. Now we will write our own destiny." After the establishment of the United African Economy, intra-African trade increased by 500%. Average GDP of African countries grew by 15%. Unemployment rates decreased by 30%. Foreign debt dependence dropped by 50%. Africa also achieved technological independence. African Technology Institute was established. Local software companies developed. African Satellite Network became operational. Digital Africa Payment System was launched. The African education system was completely renewed. African history and culture gained weight in curriculum. Native languages became languages of instruction. Dependence relationship with Western universities was severed. African Inter-University Network was established. Africa also became independent in health. African Pharmaceutical Institute was established. Local vaccine production began. Traditional medicine was modernized. African health insurance system was launched. Western powers were forced to retreat in the face of Africa's success. France decided to completely close the CFA system. USA began reducing military bases in Africa. Britain revised the Commonwealth system. EU proposed new partnership agreement with Africa. Africa's success changed the global balance of power. BRICS expanded. 15 African countries joined. African quota in UN Security Council. United African Economy representation in G20. Change in global trade routes. Ibrahim's vision came true. Multipolar world order. Western Bloc, USA, EU. Eastern Bloc, China, Russia. African Bloc, United African Economy. Southern Bloc, South America, Southeast Asia. The success of the 17-point strategy enabled the launch of massive continental development programs. Infrastructure renaissance. A $2 trillion, 10-year program to build modern transportation, energy, and communication networks across Africa. Education revolution. Establishment of 100 new universities focused on African studies, technology, and innovation. Health independence. Creation of continental disease control centers and pharmaceutical manufacturing hubs. Agricultural modernization. Technology-driven farming initiatives to achieve food security and export capacity. Green energy transition. Massive solar and wind energy projects leveraging Africa's natural advantages. Cultural revival. Programs to preserve, promote, and modernize African languages, arts, and traditions. These programs, funded by Africa's own resources and managed by African institutions, demonstrated the practical benefits of the independence strategy. By early 2026, the success of Ibrahim's strategy had gained international recognition. Nobel Peace Prize Committee. Ibrahim Traoré was nominated for Peaceful Transformation of Continental Relations, United Nations. The 17-point strategy was studied as a model for sustainable development and sovereignty, Harvard Business School. Case study on strategic planning for national independence, Oxford University. Academic Research Center established to study the Traoré model. Recognition is nice, Ibrahim commented, but the real measure of success is the improved lives of ordinary Africans. July 12, 2025, wasn't just the day 17 documents were published. That day went down in history as the day Africa's second independence movement began. The first independence movement, 1950 to 1980, brought political independence. The second independence movement, 2025 to 2031, brought economic independence. Ibrahim Traoré will be remembered as the architect of this transformation. His strategy, hidden in 17 documents, changed Africa's destiny. Why was Ibrahim's plan successful? 1. Long-term vision. The 10-year plan was calculated in all its details. 2. Coordinated approach. 17 countries acted simultaneously. 3. Technology use, cyber warfare and digital coordination. 4. Alternative partnerships, cooperation with non-Western powers. 5. Popular integration. Public support was secured in every country since the story was told. United African economy is the world's third largest economic bloc. African gold is one of global reserve currencies. Intra-African trade represents 25% of world trade. The 17 strategy points are the foundation of the African Constitution. Ibrahim Traoré's vision continues. 2027, Africa-Asia Economic Alliance. 2032, African Space Program. 2037, African Technology Revolution. 2047, New World Order under African leadership. This story is not just about Africa. It's an inspiration source for oppressed peoples everywhere in the world. Systematic thinking, breaking problems into parts and developing solutions for each part. Long-term planning, acting with a 10-year vision. Coordinated action, being strong together, not alone. Technology utilization, solving old problems with modern tools. Alternative seeking, not being dependent on a single option. With his 17 documents, Ibrahim Traoré brought Africa economic independence, technological freedom, cultural confidence, political unity, future vision, but most importantly, he instilled the belief that nothing is impossible. Ibrahim's 17 documents became a roadmap for future generations. Africa's youth now know that they can write their own destinies. Every obstacle can be overcome with systematic work when they unite. No power can stop them. Africa's riches belong to Africa. Ibrahim's success didn't just affect Africa. It gave hope to oppressed nations worldwide. South American countries formed similar unions. Asian countries strengthened their own currencies. Middle Eastern countries signed technology transfer agreements. Oceanic countries created environmental protection alliances. The strategy, hidden in 17 documents, wrote an unprecedented success story in history. No blood was shed, no war broke out, only intelligence, planning, and determination were used. Result: liberation of 1 billion people. In Ibrahim Traoré's words, freedom doesn't come free, but with the right strategy, any price can be paid. The change that began on July 12, 2025, changed Africa's history forever. 17 documents became 17 pages that changed a continent's destiny. This story proves to us, with correct leadership, systematic planning, and coordinated action, even the world's most powerful systems can be changed. Africa is awakening, and no one can stop it now, because Ibrahim Traoré's 17 documents weren't just a strategy document. They were Africa's freedom constitution, and this constitution is now Africa's heart. Today, universities worldwide study the Traoré method as a masterclass in strategic transformation. The 17-point approach has been adapted by other regions seeking to break free from dependency relationships. But perhaps most importantly, The documents proved that in the 21st century, the most powerful weapon isn't military force or economic pressure, it's strategic intelligence combined with unified action. Ibrahim Traoré's 17 documents didn't just free Africa. They provided a blueprint for any nation or region seeking true independence in an interconnected but unequal world. The age of dependence is ending. The age of true sovereignty has begun. And it all started with 17 documents that changed everything.